Hello everyone, I am the Silkworm of the Wind. Today, we will continue with episode 40 of Electronic Warfare. Last time, we talked about July 28, 2022. The USS Reagan Carrier Strike Group was ordered by higher-ups to head to the South China Sea near the Panda's home. The purpose was to test the waters to see if this route is safe. That is what it means. Just making a preliminary move with Xiaopei. If this route is safe, and the pandas do not react strongly, then it is very likely, in the coming days, Xiaopei will be passing through this route to visit Wanwan. We made this very clear in the last episode. Xiaopei will be visiting Wanwan. He only has two routes to take. Either take off from the Benzi base and fly straight to Taiwan, but that means passing through the entire Eastern Theater Command's waters. And the Eastern Theater Command's combat power is extremely strong, not to mention the East Sea Fleet and the Shandong Aircraft Carrier Battle Group. It is unlikely that Xiaopei crossed the Eastern Theater Sea area. That possibility is slim. The most likely scenario is first passing through Malaysia or Singapore, refueling there, then flying along the route over the South China Sea, passing through the winding Southeastern Sea area, and landing in Wanwan. What is the benefit of this? Over these past few decades, regarding the sphere of influence of the Agreement City, the southeastern waters of Wanwan Sea have traditionally been within Wanwan's sphere of influence. Generally speaking, our exercises are usually conducted within the Wanwan Strait, or in the northeast and northwest directions of Wanwan. That curved southeastern sea area, we rarely go there. Why is that? You have to look at the map. If we were to take over that curved southeastern sea area as well, it would be like the curve is surrounded, just like playing Go. Once they are completely surrounded, won't they be an easy catch? Then whether it is the sea routes or the air routes, we can block them at any time. So that curved southeastern direction, whether it is this beautiful, it is still Wanwan herself. It all feels like this is my territory. I can call the shots. So on July 28, 2022, the Reagan Carrier Strike Group approached the Spratly Islands. The intention was very clear. Just think about it. The Reagan Carrier Strike Group came to our Spratlys to test the waters. So can we show them a friendly face? Then the O5 destroyer Yan'an and the 05C Shanning quickly set off. Judging by the distance each side has to travel, the Reagan Carrier Strike Group had just left Singapore port. Meanwhile, our Yan'an and Xianing had already departed too. So how did the Panda know? If you had listened to my previous programs, it would be easy to understand. Today's pandas are not like the old days of rifles and millet. The high-resolution satellites up in the sky each have a god's eye view. That Li Jinhao, his backside, we all know what color of poop he is going to drop. So this Yan'an-class destroyer and the Jianning ship encountered the Jinhao Aircraft Carrier Battle Group here, near the Nansha Islands. On July 28, 2022, the Jinhao Aircraft Carrier Battle Group launched two 1A, 18G electronic warfare aircraft. I originally wanted to get close for reconnaissance, but I did not expect this panda to be so unfriendly. It used a microwave directional energy weapon from the O5 district. When I got hit, someone heard it and said, "Does our O5 army really have such sci-fi weapons?" Just search online. They really do. We already explained this part very clearly in the last episode. I won't repeat it here. Anyway, our microwave weapon, once it is activated like this, the EA-48G will immediately turn around and flee. Imagine the Rolls-Royce engine being hit by the microwave. There are two possible outcomes. Either the plane is destroyed and everyone dies. Either the machine is destroyed and people die. Hey, someone said, hey, why listen to me? Aren't you just talking nonsense? So what is the difference between machine destroyed and people die and machine destroyed? Look, there is a big difference here. The first one is called machine destroyed and people die. What does that mean? It is related to the microwave weapon emitting different electromagnetic pulse energies and frequencies. This can cause two outcomes. One is, it causes current oscillations in electronic devices, resulting in a brief overload voltage, which burns out electronic components. So if the electronic components of the airplane are burned out, how could it avoid destruction or loss of life? It is basically the destruction of the machine first, then loss of life. And there is another scenario, which involves generating thermal effects. This one is easier to understand. What is meant by generating thermal effects? It depends on the wavelength of the microwave. Different frequencies the microwaves emitted cause water molecules to vibrate, generating a large amount of heat in a short time. I am sure everyone knows this. Just think about the microwave oven at home. Look at that electronic station. Finally, we are talking about induction cookers, but we are talking about microwaves, not induction cookers. So what is the working principle of an induction cooker? It is the eddy current heating effect. It heats the metal molecules. A magnetic effect is generated within those metal molecules. Thus, the magnetic effect drives the electrical effect, creating eddy currents between the metal atoms. So this eddy current effect generates heat through the resistance of the metal atoms themselves. This is the principle behind induction cooktops. Look at that induction cooker. You place a flat-bottomed pan on top, and it heats up quickly. But if you lift the pan off the induction cooker and put your hand on it, do you see if it is hot? It is not hot. Why is that? Because there are no metal atoms in your hand. Your hand is made of flesh. It can only heat metals. It does not heat your hand. But a microwave oven is different. The microwave oven emits microwaves. The principle is to make the water molecules in an object vibrate, thereby generating heat. If you do not believe me, try it at home. Take a freshly steamed bun, put it in the microwave, and it will heat up in no time. But you have to actually turn on the microwave. A dry bun with no water content, the kind that could kill a dog if thrown. Yeah, it has no moisture at all. If you put it in, it won't heat up. That is how a microwave works. But I want to remind you of this. You can't put metal objects in the microwave. It is the same with microwaves. They can generate eddy currents in metal objects that won't cause an explosion, but it can cause electrical sparks in the microwave. So please remember this, especially for some young people who like to order takeout now. As for takeout, the quality is generally quite good. Some of it even comes wrapped in aluminum foil. But you must never put aluminum foil in the microwave. Otherwise, your takeout will be ruined. You might damage your microwave too. Hey look, our military program has turned into a science show. Alright, let us continue. So, there is another mode on Weibo, which is to induce the oscillation of water molecules, thereby heating the object. Look at what this person is made of. Listen to me. I know that woman is made of water. But I have to say, men are also made of water. These water molecules make up more than 70% of the human body. Just think about it. A living person walking around is like a big blob of water walking around. If you dare to use a specific microwave on him, it is like heating the water in his body. So where is the water in a person? Mainly in the blood, inside the organs, within the soft tissues. That would be terrifying. He heats from the inside out, first heating the pilot's internal organs, the brain, and soft tissues. You see, it is like taking a bath in a hot tub. You can jump into that pool of water. It feels really good to soak in it for a while. There are no issues at all. The heat is coming from your skin. Because you are a warm-blooded creature, so your internal organs won't raise their temperature. But if someone uses microwave weapons to heat your internal organs, your brain tissue, and your blood, if they dare to rise by 1 degree, you won't be able to handle it. Look, when you have a fever, you check it and, oh damn, it is already 38.7 degrees. For adults, that is enough to make you dizzy and lightheaded. Then dare to raise it by 2 degrees. At 39.5 degrees, you can already talk nonsense from a fever. Microwaves heat water molecules very efficiently. But the principle is not heat conduction. It directly heats the water molecules. So the pilots in that A-18G, when exposed to the microwaves, their body temperature rises rapidly. So when these two pilots saw it, they thought, damn, this panda is going all out. If it gets any worse, their body temperature would rise to 40 degrees. If an adult's fever hits 40 degrees, they are very likely to lose control of their bladder and bowels. They might not even be able to fly back. While these two were fleeing in panic, the pilot on this A-18G noticed a swarm of drones flying close to the sea surface, heading straight toward the carrier strike group. Although these drones are not Panda's flagship product. But in this world, there are countries capable of possessing this swarm of drones, no more than 10. You would think that this group of drones could not possibly pose any threat to an aircraft carrier strike group. After all, it is an aircraft carrier strike group. The defensive capabilities in that area are no joke. especially the Reagan Carrier Strike Group. You send in dozens of small drones, just trying to threaten the Nimitz-class aircraft carrier. Are you kidding me? These two 1A, 1.8G TIE-style sensing systems detected this swarm of small drones. There are a few little monsters below, moving at about 0.65 Mach. Under the cover of this swarm of small drones, they are rushing straight toward the Reagan Carrier battle group. Speaking of which, someone might say, hey, how did this turn into a mythological story? Monsters are coming out. Hey, I am not making this up, because beneath this swarm of drones lurks the ultimate nightmare for all surface warships in the world. Rainbow T1 Suicide Drone. Nickname: Chinese version of the Lehigh Monster. Speaking of this Rainbow T1 Suicide Drone, it is quite famous on this planet. But if you look at military programs around the world, it is rarely mentioned. Why is that? Because it is too terrifying, just like Voldemort and Harry Potter. So terrifying that no one dares to say his name. Therefore, navies around the world are silenced in front of this drone. They become speechless. In the impressive military report, it clearly states that the Rainbow T1 Suicide Drone has a terror index exceeding that of the Dongfeng 21, surpassing the Eagle Strike 21, surpassing the Dongfeng 26D, lauded as the carrier killer. So on July 28, 2022, 3 Rainbow 1T suicide drones appeared, heading straight for the Lijian. The 2 EA-18 pilots were left in shock upon seeing this. They were completely stunned, quickly passed through the C4 neural network system. Report to the Reagan-class aircraft carrier battle group. Run quickly, Rainbow T1 is coming. The leader of the Reagan Carrier Battle Group, George Wakeford, upon hearing this news, his eyes turned red, quickly issued the command. The entire aircraft carrier battle group is on high alert, issuing a red alert to the entire fleet. All the sailors have left the rest area. All close-range defense weapons are activated, ready to respond to any damage to the hull. Whoa. The sailors are donning their combat gear. The life-saving equipment is also in place. All carrier-based aircraft have taken off. Clear the deck. At the same time, order the cruiser Antitomo to advance to withstand the first wave of Rainbow T1 attacks. Cruiser WestGen Squadron 4 lines up in the second echelon, form the close-in weapon system as the last line of defense. The Reagan aircraft carrier abandons the close-range missile interception system, switching directly to the final interception method, dense array defense and microwave interference interception system. At this moment, George Wakeford is nearly insane. Next to him, Gedham is also incoherent. Right here, everything is a mess. When suddenly, he receives orders from the 7th Fleet Commander, Carl Thomas. Rear Admiral George Wakeford, I am Carl Thomas. Now I order you not to retreat. Quickly head due east and leave the Nansha Islands. Enter Philippine waters. Your mission in the Nansha Islands is complete. Do not engage with that panda. Repeating once more, retreat eastward. Entering Philippine waters is not running away. After all, you are facing China's version of a sea monster. Surviving these few days, you still have more important tasks. George Wakeford, after hearing this, was moved to tears. It seems the leader still does not want me to die. No time to think anymore. Follow my orders. Full speed ahead to the east. Leave that damn Nansha. When Gedimer nearby hears this, I say, Commander, we are heading east now. What if that monster Lehigh comes after us? We can't stop that thing. The hotel's George Wakeford shouted at Gedham. Are we just waiting here to die? Will that fierce monster let us go? Following orders from above, quickly retreat eastward. With a panda's nature, he would not be the first to fire a shot. Gedham next to him took a look and realized that this commander has gone mad. He did not dare to say much. He just quietly muttered, yeah, pandas won't fire the first shot. But he dares to take a shot at us with Weibo. He even dares to release that monster. Who needs guns when we are fighting now? You know, when a person is terrified to the extreme, they turn into anger. That is exactly the state George Wakeford is in right now. Because in this world, no surface warship commander wants to face China's version of the sea monster, the Rainbow T1 suicide drone. Many people probably do not know about this. And the Rainbow T1 is so impressive. What is it? I have never heard of it. Speaking of Rainbow, let us say a few more words about the T-1. It is an unmanned aerial vehicle that uses ground effect. What exactly is a ground effect vehicle? So this physical principle is quite complex. During the flight of the aircraft, it can split the air in front of it. Part of the air that is split bounces off the ground below. Then this airflow bounces back up, dragging this ground effect vehicle forward. It is hard to explain. Just remember this. This ground effect vehicle, it does not fly high. Instead, it flies close to the water or ground. How close is it? It generally only stays a short distance above the water or ground, only 1 meter high. Flying forward, it flew higher, then it can't deliver effectively, right? This kind of flying method, first, it saves fuel. Second, it has an extremely large payload because the lift of this kind of aircraft it does not come from its two wings, but from the airflow bouncing off the ground, dragging the entire aircraft forward. So its load capacity is quite large. Back in the Cold War era between the US and the USSR, Soviet Union developed a large ground effect aircraft. As for this aircraft, it can utilize ground effect for flight. Not only is it safe, but it is also fast, and it can fly far. Plus, it has an enormous payload capacity. But after the Soviet Union developed it, they did not disclose it publicly, nor did they mass produce it. But here in the sea, it often conducts flying experiments. Because it flies low, maintaining a close distance to the water surface for a long time, just about half a meter above the water, and it is quite large in size. Because it has a heavy load capacity, it can carry several hundred tons. So this creates a very strange phenomenon. Your radar can't see him, because he is flying too low. He is basically blending in with the sea wave clutter. Don't say ground radar can't see you. Even your early warning aircraft can't see him. If you want to get close to that, the water surface is only 0.5 meters deep. The sea is not flat. It has not only waves, the water is also undulating. So the chop on the water surface can submerge your ground effect vehicle. Moreover, it is not only invisible to radar, but also to sonar. Why is that? Because after all, he is still 0.5 meters above the water. He is not in the water, so no one can see him. He is like a ghost ship, drifting on the water surface. But if you say it is a ship, it is also an aircraft capable of reaching speeds of 850 kilometers per hour, running at full speed. Later on, NATO called this type of ground effect aircraft the Caspian Sea Monster. Oh, it is designed to be elusive and unpredictable. When you see it with the naked eye, its hundreds of tons of body are already right in front of you. And it can fly not only over the sea, it can also fly over land. Hey, is not that a ground effect vehicle? As long as there is ground, it can fly. In other words, this thing can go anywhere except up a mountain. It can go anywhere else. Later, the Soviet Union collapsed. What about that Lehigh monster? It has not been mass-produced yet. This month, we finally took a breath of relief. This monster has not been born yet. That is great. We have not been happy for years. Here comes China's version of the Lehigh monster. And the panda's imagination is also incredible. He did not make this VTOL aircraft like the Soviet Union did. It is quite large. But this concept is combined with drones. What you produce becomes very strange. This is a variation of the ground effect aircraft. And the level of terror is higher than the original Caspian Sea Monster by several orders of magnitude. Hey, why is that? Think about it. If this thing becomes a drone, it has a large payload capacity. That means this kind of drone can carry a large amount of explosives. For example, our Rainbow T-1 drone is said to have a warhead weighing up to 1.1 tons. Most of our explosives are not from the heavens. Not to mention full atomic ion salts. It would have to be Cl-20. That 1 ton of Cl-20 could blow the Nimitz aircraft carrier to pieces. That is just its power. And because it is a ground effect aircraft, it stays just 0.5 meters above the sea surface. Someone said, so what if it is 0.5 meters above the sea surface? Well, think about it. Which short-range air defense missile from any country can defend against targets below 5 meters? Even our own HQ-10 air defense missile, which is considered the pinnacle of short-range air defense missiles, would struggle against this Rainbow T-1 drone. It is less than a meter above sea level. In other words, all anti-aircraft missiles in the world are ineffective against it. And that is not all. Because it flies low under the cover of sea surface clutter, the Phalanx defense radar can't detect it either. Now that is pretty ridiculous. So you are saying we should send a plane to intercept it? That could work. But the pilot would have to manually shoot it down with the machine gun. If you are talking about a World War II pilot, that might be possible, but if you are talking about pilots today, they mess around with the machine gun. He is not good at playing skimming over the sea, using the machine gun to shoot little mosquitoes. That is not a skill thing. That is luck. Besides, he is only 0.5 meters above the sea. You can only dive to attack him. You can't just fly 5 meters above the sea, too. Wag its tail and hit him. So dive and take out the drone. That is even more difficult technically. If you are not careful, you might miss and end up attacking yourself at sea. Then there is the last resort. Use the ship's microwave defense system to interfere with it. Burn out its electromagnetic components. But this Panda family is also an expert in electronic warfare. This drone has a very strong anti-jamming capability. If you want to use ordinary microwave interception weapons to take it down, that would be extremely difficult. From the current perspective, it seems that no one can defend against this Rainbow T1 drone. That only leaves high-energy microwave defense weapons. Then someone said, why not use laser weapons? Sorry. If laser weapons want to hit it, the radar has to lock on first, but it smashes glass and drills on the sea surface, so you can't lock onto it. So this Rainbow T1 drone is just so bizarre in this world. It is baffling. And this thing is especially disgusting. It is not even an anti-ship missile. If it were an anti-ship missile, then normally you would have to lock the target first with fire control radar. Only then do they launch the missile. But it is not a missile. It is a drone. If you feel something's off, you can just send it out. Once it spots the target, it goes right up to it. If you want to blow it up, you do. If not, it turns around and comes back. Life and death are entirely up to us. So are you right or not? After I let him go, at worst, he will come back again. It is just a matter of a tank of gas. It is all messed up. But he uses up a whole tank of gas. You would be sweating bullets the whole time. So, this Wingy is the nightmare of all surface vessels in the world. So if you encounter it, it is a matter of life or death. It all depends on what the Panda decides. Some nitpickers might not agree with this. No way! How could the Panda family have something so impressive? It has not been battle-tested. It is useless to say anything. If you want to talk about this, you have to look at this Russia-Ukraine war. In this Russia-Ukraine war, multiple Russian warships were sunk by Ukrainian unmanned vessels. Why is that? That is because the unmanned boats are small and low profile, invisible to radar, invisible to sonar. So it comes and goes without a trace, carrying a load of explosives. It just rams into the Russian warship. Even defensive missiles can't stop it. Not even the dense fire of the CIWS radar can't lock onto such a small vessel. So Ukraine used very little cost to destroy several Russian ships, even including landing ships of the aircraft carrier class. This kind of tactic is really unstoppable. But it is very low level in front of us. Why is that? Because Ukraine is only using unmanned vessels. That is impressive. Speed, 45 knots. That is about 70 to 80 kilometers per hour. Honestly, that is not slow, but our Kyong T1 drone can fly at 820 kilometers per hour. The level of threat is 10,000 times greater than that of the unmanned vessel, and because it is still a drone, dealing with these unmanned surface vessels is always spot on. This piece of equipment has so many impressive features. Well, I won't list them all. It is also because it flies low, specifically targeting Chishui County. And what about the delayed detonation? I won't go into that. Anyway, as long as you know, this Rainbow T1 drone is the ocean overlord of this world. What aircraft carrier battle groups or coastal combat ships are all nothing in front of this drone. They are all just worthless. So today, George Wakeford's displayed fear and impatience, which is completely understandable. That is just how he is. If you are faced with danger and you have a way to overcome it, you should try to solve it. Just 30 seconds. But when you encounter something that is completely unsolvable and it can take your life at any moment, then all you have left is fear. So why are so many people afraid of ghosts? It is because you have no way to deal with ghosts. They are so elusive, and you can't explain them, you also can't resist them. Your life and death depend entirely on his whim. That is the most terrifying part. So this Rainbow T1 drone is like a ghost on this planet. Elusive and unpredictable, appearing and disappearing, ready to claim a life at any moment. This is George Wake. After receiving orders from Lieutenant General Thomas, we treated it like a major rescue, quickly notified the entire ship to head east. Where exactly is east? East is Manila, Philippines. Looking at my father-in-law, I thought, damn, as long as I get to Manila, I am safe now, no matter how crazy your panda gets. You can't possibly chase me all the way to Manila and blow me up, right? So take a look at this map. The entire aircraft carrier battle group is like a dog chasing a rabbit. It rushed over 500 or 600 kilometers. It entered Manila Harbor on July 30th. Oh, after arriving in Manila, George Vickoff looked like a pile of rotten mud and slipped into his captain's seat. When Gooderhammer saw the captain's expression, he also let out a sigh of relief. Then he moved closer and said, "Commander, we have finally reached Manila. It should be safe now. The brothers have been exhausted from the long journey. How about we have a drink tonight to relieve the fatigue?" When George Wake heard that, he said, "Good idea. The dangerous enemies along the way can be said to have barely escaped with their lives." Fortunately, after we headed east, the Rainbow T1 drone did not catch up with us, but instead turned back. My back is still sweaty now. You know, we are stuck with a fixed salary all day long and still have to work like crazy. This is especially true for us in the Navy. Once we set sail, it is for several months. At home, no one can take care of anything. The leaders scold you, and even the pandas intimidate you. This is not a job for humans. Forget it, I do not want to think about it. Just like what Ting Feng from the panda family said, after enduring storms the heart is weary, life is better spent drunk. Gooderhammer took out the wine from Ting Feng's silkworm. Let us finish it tonight. As soon as Gooderhammer heard that, then I was really happy. Last time I drank that listening to the wind wine. No dry mouth, no headache. I was even more excited, so I arranged for a chef. He fried a plate of peanuts. Then I opened that listening to the wind, leftover wine. Gooderhammer looked down and said, "Hey, why are there words on this wine bottle? What does it say?" It is still in Chinese. It seems like a poem, but I can't recognize it. He was looking at the wine and the fried peanuts. He raised his head and swallowed a sip of wine, reached out to take the wine box. Usually I ask you to learn some Chinese. You always just brush it off. I have told you many times, it is better to learn some Chinese in the future. Haven't you seen? These past few years, we have just been muddling through with the panda. Sooner or later, it will catch up with us. We need to face the pandas directly. As the saying goes, know yourself and know your enemy, and you will never be defeated. Learning some Chinese is not a bad idea. Otherwise, you do not even know what brand of alcohol you are drinking. Isn't that just drinking blindly? Then Gurdam sticks his head out. What does the writing on that wine box say? Then I saw George Wake pointing at the two largest characters on the wine jar. Strong drink with the two small characters below. Listen to the wind. Gooderhammer looked puzzled, Commander, what does that mean? The hotel's George Wake looked profound, then turned the wine box over. Did you see the poem written here at the back? It is said to be based on what was heard. A veteran of the forum ventured alone into the core production area of Mao Tai Town, crossed the Dragon Gate Array, encountered a trap set by a fairy and a honey trap, endured countless hardships, restructured assets to acquire a winery worth 1.5 billion yuan, sealed 800 tons of 30-year-old base liquor with a crooked poem. See, it is this weird poem. Let me read it to you. Strong drink hears the wind rise. Gunpowder smoke. The world's chessboard ignites in battle. I walk leisurely in my tranquil courtyard, watching the winds and clouds change at will. And Graham over there, when he hears this, he looks like he thinks it is pretty impressive. But what does it mean? George Wakeoff just waved his hand, treating him like nothing more than a pedantic scholar. Come on, let us drink. So, George Wakeoff and Gooderhammer clinked their glasses, and the two drank a bottle and a half. This was 53-degree strong sauce liquor. Although it is pure grain solid-state fermentation, it can still get you drunk. Downing this bottle and a half is equivalent to one person drinking 7 tails. That is quite a lot to drink. Reflecting on the various experiences of these past few days, the two of them laughed and cried. Their emotions were fully released. But what they did not expect was that it was 2,000 kilometers away. Eastern Theater Command, Shandong Aircraft Carrier Battle Group of the East China Sea Fleet, had already quietly moved south. Even the Northern Theater Command, the Liaoning Aircraft Carrier Battle Group of the North Sea Fleet, was also on its way south. The world's focus is on Wanwan. And on July 29th, Zhao Liang's master once again raised his voice. For a moment, the news that Zhao Pei was planning to visit Wanwan became a hot topic of global discussion again. On the southern part of the Asian peninsula, the THAAD system is operating 24/7, continuously illuminating the entire Asia, constantly monitoring everything about the panda family and the movements of the 80s generation in the peninsula, right here, George. At the same time as Vikov and the Getahammer Brigade, at the beautiful Guam Naval Base, a C-40C transport plane quietly took off. It arrived at Subang Airport in Malaysia on the morning of July 30th. Hey, this plane is empty. No passengers on board. Why did Zhao Liang first fly to Malaysia on a private plane? It is because Zhao Liang wanted to perform a trick in front of the entire world to make a clean escape, like a cicada shedding its shell. What exactly happened? We will discuss that in the next segment.